and I don't mind making the speech without a teleprompter, because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the two things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter.
The UN speech President Trump gave yesterday, which was filled with some, I guess you'd say, technical difficulties, including an escalator that broke as soon as...
Let me say, they weren't technical difficulties.
Right.
As someone who's done a lot of this at the UN, yes, the UN is pretty junky. And they always say it's because of the U.S. funding. It's also because they won't turn the air conditioning on because of climate change. I was there in Geneva in the summer, and I think it was 77 degrees inside the building. Outside in Geneva, it was cooler. I mean, because you're on the lake, and you're like, "What is this?" Is to the point of when people are sweating and uncomfortable in a setting that's supposed to be formal, but you realize again, and I remember telling you there live from there, we were the only Americans in the building.
Well, they are the Secret Service is going to investigate this as potential sabotage, as we found out that there was multiple people online that were joking about whether this could happen before it happened, saying, what if the elevator broke down?
UN staff was actually heard by New York Times.
Yeah, I think some of it's up on the screen right now. You can see people were talking about it. Saying that it'd be funny if when this president steps on the escalator or the elevators, that maybe it shuts
UN
down.
Staff members have joked that they may turn off the escalators and elevators and simply tell him they ran out of money, so he has to walk up the stairs. Yeah. I will tell you this: that's because they keep saying because the U.S. pulling funding, which, by the way, we still provide a lot of funding to the UN. Second, definitely done intentionally, 100%. I've been there. It was
as soon as Melania stepped on it. I mean, that's the one thing is that the timing was so. You're watching it right now. It's working. It's working. It's working. She steps 1 foot on it, and it shuts down. Give me a break.
And there's multiple. I mean, you see, there's multiple.
And the others are going fine. Yes, and done.
Right, trying to make her fall and him fall.
Yeah, well, yeah. She loses her balance, and theoretically, you'd think he'd fall. I mean, honestly, if they're not as good at sabotage, you do it a little bit further up. That's what happened.
Well, I think they're a little nervous about having the president of the United States potentially fall, and then of course the teleprompter. Right. I will tell you this again: the teleprompter is a very very simple piece of technology.
It is, but for some reason they can't get it right.
But I'm telling you, look,
it's like a printer.
Did they have problems with any other speaker?
No, I don't know. I didn't. No. I did not care to watch the rest.
They did not. Yeah. And so I'm telling you, this was all done as sabotage because they knew that Donald Trump was coming there to tell them what the truth was. If you don't get your countries in order,
get the hostages out.
By the way, and you let your countries be overrun by radicals like the UK and others, I will say France and some of these other countries have done a much better job on immigration than others. After being there over the summer, you've been in the UK, I've been in the UK, they have kind of just let it go. And I think, he made that message. It was also interesting because they and I think they kind of messed up because he also had planned that day and still did it, a big reversal on Russia and Ukraine, which we haven't gotten to, where he said, you know what? I've been dealing with this Putin guy now for 2 administrations. Enough.
We're doubling down.
I'm going to give, if NATO wants to purchase U.S. weaponry, they can use it however they want. I think that's after all these drones have gotten close to European cities. And you've seen all these airports have to shut down because of Russian drones suspected. There was also this big, did you say Secret Service fine in New York of all those servers that had the ability to shut down all cell service?
Yes.
Let me tell you who was likely responsible for that.
Yeah.
Russians.
And at the same moment, you also had, I sent it to you, Russia is definitely on a weird PR move campaign too, because they did their own alternate version of the Eurovision Song Contest, which is something that my family, we get around, we watch it every year.
And most of the world somehow participated, but not the actual country.
But not the
right?
it was as Russian as you'd expect, because it was all these countries a lot of countries that are not allowed. So I think Cuba, Russia, ones that have issues. And then it said the United States. And
that's what I saw. It's like, what?
We went and we looked it up, and it was an Australian singer who lived here for a couple of years, who had moved back already, but they found a way to kind of loophole an American. But it opened with Putin coming out, making a statement. It was in English and it was in Russian. No, I forgot who won. I can find out who won it.
Venezuela.
It was I think Russia knows better than to win it. They're like, we should.
Ukraine was not there.
No, I don't think so. But they're doing all these count. And look, it was a
lot of those countries wouldn't be in Eurovision because they're not in Europe.
Yes, but there's some rules there. They kind of
is the UAE usually in Eurovision?
Sometimes I think they
Saudi
are.
Arabia?
There's a big, huge problem right now with Israel. Israel is right now 3 or 4 of the major countries have said they're going to protest if Israel's allowed to perform this year. Because
and usually they do.
This is like Spain. Israel's usually top 10 because they make crazy pop music, and that's. I know this is totally off topic here, but what I'm saying is Russia's
actually
creating.
Important for people to know what's going on in the world.
Yeah, when you watch something like this, and it was available on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Now I always thought it was going to be available on like Rumble maybe or like
RT,
but no, it was actually on YouTube. This sort of Russian song contest made for the world stage. I think you're going to see Putin try more of those kind of things
because he has lost Trump now,
right?
For now, and so and what Trump said, which is very clear, is that he now believes that Russia is a paper tiger.
Vietnam won,
and that if interesting,
yeah,
and that. Because they're a paper tiger, he said, any real military, let's be honest, should have been able to overrun Ukraine if you're the size of Russia in days, like we all talked about years ago. And this kind of indiscriminate killing, and now these drones in Europe, enough. I'm going to let NATO do what they want. If they want to buy our weapons and go after the Russians, go for it. What that means for the United States, we'll have to have some others on to talk about that. But you know what? The UN really messed up because he was going to give a message, probably one message they actually agree with that they've been looking for the United States. And I believe President Trump on this. I think he really, really has tried. I mean, he went to Alaska to work with Putin, and even like Melania said, every time he walked there, he said, "Great remarks," and then she'd say, "Yeah, but they just blew up, a maternity ward," and so. When they could have had a great moment at the UN. Instead, it's all overrun by, he talked about the AI and bioweapons and trying to secure those. These are things that the UN would like, but because they have Trump derangement syndrome, I mean, so they're like...
are doing some ridiculous things.
And let me tell you something, Secret Service does need to get to the bottom of it because that was dangerous. On using any kind of shutting down.
Yeah, whoever had access to that,
and
if
then,
that's real.
On just impacting his speech. I don't know about that necessarily be dangerous, the crime, but again, those staffers should be fired.
It becomes the story instead of whatever the speech was going to be.
Listen, even if you're the Russian speaker or this speaker, that shouldn't happen to you.
Well, the Russians are interesting because in that song contest, one of the things they majorly push in it is, if you've been a fan of the Eurovision Song Contest, it has gotten a little out of control in terms of it's not as family friendly as it used to be. It can be a bit intense, and Russia came out and said, well, our version is completely family friendly. We are conservative values. We are family values. Trying to push a different narrative coming out of Russia as well, which is you're not going to see. I mean, oddly enough, it is the messaging you get from a lot of the conservative Christian organizations is what was coming out of Russia. So I know they're playing this sort of marketing. They're trying, especially when you have people even on the right and kind of publicly proclaiming their love, it feels like, for Russia and for Vladimir Putin.